cheating ex accused me of domestic violence when I refused to take her back, and the assistant district attorney is hellbent on using this to ruin my life. 1 year and a half saga. Original post. Hello everyone. I have been a lurker here since this happened in May of 2019, but I would like to finally post my story on a throwaway in order to garner opinions and just vent, I suppose. In May of last year my ex-girlfriend came back into my life a month after I told her to leave me alone. At the time I felt bad for her. A friend of ours had just committed suicide because of her, and she was feeling suicidal, so I agreed to hang out with her for a night and try to talk her down. Stupid me. I should have seen what happened to her friend and stayed far away, but hindsight is 20/20. We went out for drinks and I was not in a place to drive home, so I stayed the night. The next morning she started pressuring me to restart our relationship and I turned her down. She started video chatting with some other guy she had been sleeping with, and when she got off the phone with him I said, "This is exactly why I can't be with you again. Your behavior with men is just awful. You screwed me over and cheated, you screwed over T, another man she dated between me and this video chat guy, and you're going to screw over this new guy. You need to change your behavior and accept that what you are now is not what people want. You treated E, the guy who killed himself, so poorly and led him on so hard that he killed himself." At this point she went off, screaming and attacking me to the point my lip was split. I had a black eye, cuts, and bruises all over my face. I told her to cool down or I would call the police. Well, I should have called right away because she went into her room and had the guy she video chatted with call the police for her. They made up this huge story and, because the guy had no idea what I really looked like and lived across the country, he identified me as a short Latino in clothes that I wasn't wearing. I am a tall white guy and I was in a bathrobe while my laundry was finishing. The police showed up with weapons drawn, slammed me into a wall, making me bleed again, and proceeded to explain to me that they were told I had strangled this girl for 5 minutes and that she had to beat me off and lock herself in her room to be able to call them. Over the next 20 minutes she proceeded to tell each officer such wildly different stories that each of their reports are completely different. They even noted in their reports that the suspect present is not the suspect identified in the call. The one injury on her body is a week-old hickey from the guy she slept with while she was out of state, but they stated that I did this even though I had a selfie that she sent me the night she got this hickey with it blatantly present on her neck. Despite showing them this and being beaten to hell, they arrested me and charged me with assault. I am 6 feet 3 inches and 210 pounds and she is 5 feet 2 inches and 115 pounds. She would not have been able to inflict the injuries I had if I had done what they say I did, but nobody seems to care. I spent the next 6 days in jail and was denied a personal recognizance bond at my hearing, so my grandparents had to put their house up as collateral for a bail of $10,000. Now here I sit, almost 10 months later, charged with assault, kidnapping, and harassment. I have lost everything: my college education, my job as an emergency medical technician, and my medical school acceptance. She has continued to harass me via text this entire time. The prosecutor wanted to drop the case in November last year as he hadn't heard from her and told my attorney that the case was bullcrap and he wanted to let it die on the vine, but she burst into the courtroom while we were in the middle of the dismissal motion and demanded they move forward. I live in Colorado, which has the most stringent no-drop domestic violence laws as well as mandatory arrest laws biased against men, and they were forced to proceed. My attorney says that the prosecutor wants to let the case stretch out until the speedy trial rule expires so he can drop it, but I have no faith. I have proved I did nothing with the photo discrediting the hickey and submitted every text message she has sent harassing me and asking me to be with her again. But the prosecutor literally said, "I don't care," when shown all of this. I am at a loss and I honestly intend to end my life if I am convicted. I just wanted to put all this out there so that you could hear my story. I could use your prayers and whatever else you can offer in support as I am a broken man now. Reading the top comments before the next update. We seem to be missing a few steps here. The prosecutor thinks it's bullcrap but still brought it to a grand jury, and you got indicted based on that evidence? Here's a bullet point summary. 1. I am arrested after the incident outlined above despite showing the police my exculpatory photograph and her extreme inconsistency in speaking to each officer and these stories getting put into reports. Colorado is a mandatory arrest state so they apparently have no choice. 2. I spend my time in jail and because it is a holiday weekend I don't have a bond hearing until a few days in. The judge denies me personal recognizance bond based off of the police statement and my family bails me out. 3. I get a former prosecutor for an attorney after being bailed out and am scheduled for arraignment 4 months later where I plead not guilty. 4. During this time we set for trial and she starts harassing me. I begin submitting the texts and calls she makes as evidence to my attorney. I also submit the exculpatory photograph before trial. She also starts messaging my friends about me and they send me screenshots and I submit them as well. 5. At the pre-trial conference the prosecution pushes the date forward. My attorney informs me that the prosecutor thinks the case is bullcrap and is dropping it at the trial date. 6. Trial date. There is no sight of her and nobody believes she is coming. They are filing the motion to dismiss when she shows up 20 minutes late and states she wants me prosecuted. They move forward. More charges are added, kidnapping and harassment. 7. New trial date is set and my attorney states that the prosecutor still wants the case to die on the vine by allowing the trial clock to expire as my case doesn't matter to them and he still finds it hard to believe despite him telling my attorney that he doesn't care about the evidence I submitted. I have a court date next week, the next supposed trial date, where it will be pushed out till April or May and they supposedly drop it. I just have no faith anymore after all that's happened. My attorney has also been working somewhat pro bono as I haven't been able to afford the monthly payments I am supposed to and he has continued working for me. It just sounds like they're following protocol until they can make a decision to dismiss. I'm mostly sad about you losing the med school acceptance. Not sure how they were so quick to rescind the offer when you haven't been convicted. I'm glad you have a rational prosecutor that sees through the BS. I've heard of ones that aren't like that. Something like this happened to me and thank God I was quick on my feet enough to think to record the situation. As soon as I brought the recording with a typed transcript, the judge dismissed the girl who accused me of everything under the sun to hide the fact she attacked me over a disagreement over the effing dishes. We were roommates. Don't think about suicide. I did and it landed me in a government-run facility for 3 days, but was quite a learning experience. The people in those places have real problems that will never go away. It slightly made me feel more fortunate actually. Well, that honestly makes me feel better. My girlfriend, who has been with me before and throughout this whole thing, always says I overreact about how bad it is, but the effects have been very real. My admission was for August of this year but was rescinded about 2 or 3 months after I was arrested. At the same time my emergency medical technician license was suspended. I have not gotten to finish my senior year so I will not be admitted this fall even if this truly does go away. I really hope he is being as rational as it appears, but I always worry he is trying to take my attorney off guard just because he has added charges throughout. I have not been placed on house arrest or pre-trial monitoring despite the continually growing charges. I have lost out on a promotion to aita, what I did before college, at my current job, grocery store, and, now that they've found out about my pending charges, I am likely to lose my job even though most everyone I work with knows what's going on, and the IT managers also knew when offering me the position. I will post an update here after my court date next week. Thank you for your comment. First update, days later. I just got back from court and I said I would post an update. The prosecutor has been lying to my attorney the whole time. He does not want to let the case die. He tried to force trial today, and the judge almost allowed it, even though he submitted statements from my victim that she was high on meth and ecstasy while this all occurred, as well as other new statements from her yesterday morning. He is pursuing my case aggressively and attempted to try me today ahead of 2 murder cases, an attempted murder, and a vehicular homicide. I have witnesses and messages from her that directly countermand every single new statement she made. I have submitted photographic evidence that proves I did nothing. Her new statements even directly contradict what she said to the officers who responded to her call. Because the prosecutor did not ask for a continuance to investigate his new evidence, my attorney was forced to ask for one, and I have waived my right to a speedy trial as a result. None of this matters, none of the evidence I submit, no matter how many times I prove her a liar, seems to matter, and they are slowly destroying my life. I honestly have very little hope left, and seeing that this is the world we live in makes me sick. I don't know what to do anymore. Reading the top comments before the next update. No idea what that prosecutor is thinking. It's pretty obvious how a jury trial would go. So what's this mean? No trial yet? I am scheduled for pre-trial readiness again and trial in June. I don't know what the F he is thinking either. Every piece of evidence, of which he has literally one photograph I can disprove, comes from her mouth and can also be disproven with everything I have submitted. This country is out of control in its support, or whatever the hell this is, for women who are obviously milking the system. When this is over, I don't want to be in this country anymore, but I have also heard most countries are worse in this regard than we are. Here's a quote that I like from Claire Lehman, editor of Quillette, The truth always bats last. Hang in there, dude. Thank you, I will. The comment above literally saved my life when it was down to the wire. I'm not proud, but I was about to do the unthinkable and my Fitbit vibrated with the notification and I decided to read it. I wouldn't be here without this sub and the people I have met on here. Thank you all. Second update. I have begun receiving anonymous text messages threatening my life from someone close to the girl in my case. They also ramble on about how the girl loves me and doesn't want to go to trial and how I am her soulmate, but that I should rot in hell and get what is coming to me. I am powerless to defend myself. They have taken my right to have a firearm, they update her with my phone number and any address changes, and now I am just not sure what to do. Any advice would be appreciated. Reading the top comments before the next updates. Document everything. Absolutely do not contact your accuser or respond to those messages. Guess my only option is the same old. What the above poster said. File a police report immediately to show that you fear for your safety. It's not your job to figure out who's doing it, it's the police's. I am worried a police report will look like vengeance or something stupid like that and that they will use it against me at trial. Third update 2 months later. Y'all have likely seen my posts here before, so I don't go into my case again. This is more of a rant or cry for help. Yesterday a probation revocation was issued because I was unable to complete community service and required classes on a separate driving while ability impaired charge because of COVID closures, so I am now liable to be incarcerated at any time. I can't find employment anywhere but my soul-crushing grocery job I have now. I have been denied by multiple construction, warehouse, hell even janitor jobs. There is nowhere else I can go, not even jobs supposedly that convicted felons can do, and I'm not even convicted yet. I am barely holding on anymore. I have so many court dates through the summer that I have to miss work for, and life has just become endless bad news. I have the support of everyone in my world and I can still barely hold on financially or emotionally. The courts are relentless and full of the sickest bastards I have ever seen, and I am so beyond sick of facing them day in and day out. I really don't know how much longer I can keep going. Just wanted to throw the fleeting thoughts of a sad individual out to the world, I guess. Thanks for reading. Fourth update 5 months later. You all may or may not remember me, but if you need a refresher, read through my posts. I have the latest update on my case and, though preliminary, I want to share what has transpired with my falsely accused brothers and sisters. To get to it, the assistant district attorney on my case was actually fired from the prosecutor's office for reasons undisclosed to myself or my attorney. A new assistant district attorney was put on my case on Friday of last week. I myself have also retained a new attorney as I lost faith in the strategy of the prior one I had. I got a bulldog of a woman who is a former chief prosecutor on a domestic violence task force in a well-known city in my state. In speaking with the new assistant district attorney on my case, it has been ascertained that my prior attorney did nothing and submitted none of my evidence for the official record, or that the former assistant district attorney on my case intentionally hid my evidence to protect his case. The new assistant district attorney on the case has worked with my attorney in the past and trusts her professionally despite being on opposing sides. She first asked him what new evidence should he be given, as the client, me, had submitted much to his old attorney and not much new had been given to myself, so we need to know what you do and do not need, new attorney. We found that he had none of what I gave my prior attorney on record. My new attorney proceeded to give everything I have in a motion to submit 404B evidence, the apparent legal classification of what I have given. The motion is a true mic drop and I was thoroughly impressed with the wording. It even suggested the victim in my case is the one who should be charged. The new assistant district attorney has not read through my case yet, but my attorney went through a summary of everything. A preliminary offer of a 6-month misdemeanor domestic violence unsupervised was given. My attorney made clear to me that going from a double felony and high-class misdemeanor to a Class 4 misdemeanor on preliminary offer was amazing. Now all that comes is they are going to see if the victim in my case wants to go forward despite the new evidence, which includes 2 witnesses about her assaulting me and threatening false accusations when angry. My attorney, as a former task force head on DV crimes and a female, said to the assistant district attorney, "Look at my work history and who I am. I am an advocate for true victims of domestic violence. I would not defend an obviously guilty client in this manner. I would just defend them to ensure parity in the response of the court. What I say should carry weight, and I am telling you that she is not a real victim, she is a mentally ill liar." The assistant district attorney reacted favorably and has allowed all my evidence without objection. Long story short, at worst my case is ending in a deferred sentence of 6 months or, after reading through my evidence, The assistant district attorney may push for dismissal of all charges. We will find out at the end of the month. Either way, my future as a medical provider and my record will be intact, and either way I win. They either dismiss the case or the lunatic of an alleged victim in my case will show up and demand I be convicted, and, in front of her and everyone, I get to take an offered plea, basically saying you aren't guilty but the evidence could be used to railroad you so you'll take their sentence, with a guaranteed dismissal at the end and 6 months of unsupervised probation. She will never see the punishment she wanted, and I will get to walk away as whole as a man can be in a situation as dire as this. I am not at the end of the road yet, but the road ends in a good place for me either way. One way in complete dismissal and the other with some hoops that saves me from 2 felonies and a Class 1 misdemeanor and potentially 15 years in prison. I get to return to medicine, I get to be engaged to the girl whom I love that has stayed with me through all this, and I get my life back. As I said, it is not the end of the road, and I pray they are not playing games with my newfound representation. Pray this is not the case. Regardless of the outcome, I have found a cause to advocate for and will always fight for the rights of the accused, no matter where my future lay. I have attempted suicide 3 times through this. My girlfriend, and soon-to-be fiancée, was forced to cut my dangling body from a doorframe noose, and I proceeded to aspirate on her and into my lungs. I came closer to death than I care to admit. My inability to fully cope has led to horrible damage on the people I love and on my psyche. I have fought day in and day out to survive because I have a family standing behind me and a woman who wants to marry me despite everything. But here I am, alive and towards the end. I am breathing as so many of us are not. I have rediscovered purpose and meaning in this existence I almost thought lost. I still don't know what to say to my falsely accused family other than, it's not over until it's over. If I had succeeded, I would be in a box with those I love left behind, and I would never have gotten to see what I am seeing today. I am here for all of you always, and we can fight this together, unified our view of what is truth and right. Here's the quick version. My case is ending at worst in a 6-month deferred sentence or a high probability of dismissal in a state that very rarely allows dismissal. After 19 months of hell, the light at the end of the tunnel is visible and my future has returned. Reading the top comments before the next updates. Good job, man. I'm happy for you. Way to stick it out. Did you lose your retainer on the prior attorney, or what usually happens there when you change representation? I did lose the retainer as far as I know, but it was worth the switch since the courts had not seen everything I have until now. I'm so excited to return to hospital work. April of next year at the latest. 5th update, 5 months later. Hey everyone. I didn't think I'd be back here to post again, at least not asking for advice like this. I'm not going into my case history because you can read through my posts and see it. Long story short, this deferred sentence with a guaranteed dismissal and seal at the end sucks. As you may or may not know, I work in healthcare and that's what I go to school for. Turns out, throughout the United States, every state gets to decide that certain entities are exempt from sealing orders. Lo and behold, departments of healthcare and healthcare administration are exempt in every state. They will see the case and, with exempt entities, you are not allowed to deny an arrest. Even if you win your case, you cannot deny it with these exempt entities unless you can go through a total expungement, distinct from sealing. The state of Colorado does not do expungements except for juvenile records, so I guess I'm just screwed. I spoke to a healthcare licensing attorney and I got a summarized answer of it can be done. It'll be hard and you will have to jump through a lot of hoops and there are no guarantees. With your case you will probably be okay, but you may not either. Also known as, I'm sitting 1 year from graduation looking at if I am going to go to graduate school for being a provider, and I can't know if I can even do it until I go through the whole thing. My attorneys lied to me. The courts lied to me. I have no goddamn idea what to do now. I feel almost as though I am back to square one. To do what I love I have to fight again at least 2 more times in front of licensing boards, and I have to do the same anytime I move states to get licensed again. I am so effing done, so unbelievably effing done. Despite everything I have done, despite the hell I went through and the fight I put up, everything is still in jeopardy and I have to risk every opportunity I have to do what I love. I don't enjoy research. I don't enjoy computers or anything else related to what I have gone to school for. What the hell is one supposed to do? I am sorry to be the bearer of bad news for anybody who is in a healthcare track or any of the other fields wherein the certifying board is exempt from sealing orders. For everyone still going through their cases and considering plea deals, this is a factor you have to weigh in and nobody is likely to tell you. 6th update, 1 month later. I don't really know why I am writing this. Maybe it's a cry for help or maybe I just need to rant, but I feel compelled to write it. I am at a loss. I suffered through 18 months of hell to be offered a deferred sentence that is supposed to be 6 months long. I got through the probation. I finished everything that I was supposed to do, on time, and paid everything I was supposed to. My probation officers have told the court that they want to see me released from probation. The counselor in the court-ordered program wrote a statement for the court saying that he believes I am obviously innocent and that the case should have been dismissed right away, but, since it wasn't, that I had done everything I needed to do and he wants to see me released from probation. At the restitution hearing, which is the most recent one, the judge said that we had more than met our burden of proof in showing I did not cause any of the injuries the prosecution alleged. You can read the excerpt I posted with that. The judge, when she sentenced me, said that I would be allowed to file for release from probation, dismissal, and sealing of my case after I finished everything. Everything has been lined up, so I moved to the next step. I have been accepted to every program I applied to. All the schools require a background check, and they want the paperwork filed by the end of next week so that I can matriculate into the programs. Well, that's okay. My case will be dismissed and sealed in time, and the court has already stated its support of that. But it doesn't matter. Despite everything I just said, all the people involved saying that I'm innocent and deserve to be released, the judge saying I proved I didn't do it, and despite finishing everything I was supposed to, the newly assigned prosecutor on my case has filed an objection to me being released. He has 60 days to formally file his objection argument so that a hearing can be scheduled, and it'll take a few weeks after that to get one. This is long past the deadline I have for school. My attorney asked the same judge, the one who said I proved my innocence, to order the prosecutor to respond within 1 week so that we could have the resolution in time for school, and she denied it. He has the full 60 days to respond with his argument for objection, and I bet you everything I have he will take the full time. The prosecutor that worked out my plea deal and supported the release timing for probation has been reassigned from my case and a new one assigned. He reached out to the new prosecutor, but the new prosecutor told the old one that it's not his decision anymore and he is deciding to object. Why, you may ask? Sadism. He is objecting because the judge said I proved my innocence. He is objecting because he looked like a fool at the last hearing and his motion of restitution was denied. He knows what the minute order says, and he knows that, when we do get to go to a hearing, I will be released and he will lose again. But that doesn't matter. I won't get to attend any of these programs. Because I am transferring, the schools require that my coursework at the prior institution be contiguous with the semester of matriculation. I have to have attended school within the last academic year, but now I won't get to go in fall. It's not that I won't be able to do these clinically oriented programs, I won't be able to go at all in fall. Every school I have applied to includes background checks as part of admission, so I won't be able to attend anywhere next semester. With one fell swoop, my entire educational career is undone. My chance to better my life with education is done. The jobs I have had to work while dealing with this case make me absolutely miserable, and now I don't even have the chance to better myself and advance past them. I was supposed to be a physician. I was right there. Then my case happened, and I accepted working in a lower-tier healthcare job. Now, because one man is so petty, I don't get to do anything in healthcare anymore. I may not get to attend school again. My family is tired. I am tired. My fiancée, the one good thing I have left in my life, is about done. She says that we are forever and that these things don't matter, but she also says she is tired of waiting and tired of being sad about this all the time and tired of me not being able to contribute. The jobs I can get leave me in poverty, and I can't so much as take this poor woman out to a date. I am about to lose the one good thing I have left because of this petty guy, and there's nothing I can do about it. I am tired of being the source of the suffering my family endures, and I am tired of suffering myself. The one way out of everything will make them suffer more, but I am starting to believe that the suffering of my loss will be less than the suffering of dealing with the damaged person I have become due to this case. I will never be able to take care of them. I will never make enough money to support them back for all the support they've given me. All that while still being forced to work jobs I absolutely despise that make me miserable. I am at a loss and I don't know if I can take this. I poured my all into surviving to this point because there was the light at the end of the tunnel through these schools and the chance to do something meaningful again. I was going to be able to have a decent salary that I could support my family with, and it would be doing something meaningful. Now I have none of that, and it is all because of the sadism of this prosecutor. I have no probation violations and have the support of everyone to be released. He has no argument to keep me going and he will lose. My case will be dismissed and sealed, but it will be too late. I don't know what to do, guys. I can't keep living like this, and I want to give my family what they deserve, but my strength is spent, and they are too. I grew up being told that the USA is the greatest country in the world, but it is a lie. We are the epitome of evil. How are things ever supposed to be okay again? Edit. Never take a plea deal. Even if it is an offered plea and you get to say you're innocent while accepting the sentence. Even if it gets dismissed and sealed at the end. No matter how tempting it is, do not take one or you could end up like me. I am a sad, pathetic husk of the man I used to be and I don't know if it will ever come back. Moreover, I am the consistent victim of the sadism of the subhumans that call themselves prosecutors. Reading the top comments before the next update. You perhaps need to tell all of this, perhaps through your lawyer, to the judge at the new hearing when it happens. Could you sue because of this? I have spoken to a few different civil attorneys about my case and who I can and cannot sue. Prosecutors have absolute, yes absolute, immunity from civil lawsuits. My best bet with him would be reporting him to the state bar, and from what I have gathered they won't do squat. I'd like to sue the nurse that pretty much lied on the forensic report, but, surprise surprise, state expert witnesses also have extensive immunity from civil litigation. Police are also out because my case happened before Colorado passed the law that did away with qualified immunity, so they still have protection from the statute even though they had their body cams off during the arrest when they very obviously brutalized me because they could and because they were being major white knights. Because of what the judge said in that restitution hearing, posted a transcript excerpt earlier if you want to see, I am able to sue the girl in the case. Problem is nobody can find her, not even the investigators for the courts or the police, so serving her would be hard. It would also cost far more than I anticipated, and the overall opinion from the attorneys I've talked to is that it wouldn't be worth my time and I should move on. To be honest, I agree with them. I don't care about suing the girl at all. If I could hold anyone accountable, it would be the state and the forensic nurse and the prosecutors on my case, and of course they just can't be sued. It's convenient for the government to be totally unable to be held accountable through laws that they wrote themselves. The whole thing is bullcrap, and as soon as I figure out what I am going to do and finish whatever education is required, I'm going to get the F out of the United States and move somewhere that hasn't become an unethical totalitarian crap hole. We don't actually have direct proof that this is why he is objecting, but the judge knows why I needed this case done in the time frame. She knows that this is preventing my education. She knows that we requested a truncated response time motion so the prosecutor would be forced to turn in his objection and schedule a hearing, motion denied, and she knows that I have no plan after this that can work. I wrote her personally and filed my letter with her clerk. They don't give a crap. 7th update, another month later. Yesterday, at D+677 days, 14 hours, 47 minutes my case ended with the promised dismissal and seal. Against the protestations of a sociopathic assistant district attorney who disregarded all evidence I gave, but within the time frame promised by the court, my case ended as it should have 25 months ago. I got to watch the assistant district attorney turn red with fury, and goddamn did it feel good. A small taste of the powerlessness he makes people feel every damn day. Everything came together with school as well, and by the second week of September, I will be back in the hospital working with patients and back on track to be an advanced practice provider. Younger me would have been pissed about the huge delay, and I certainly still am, but I just don't care now. I finally get to go back, and that's all that matters. I get to turn over a new leaf and restart far away from the wretched place. If I can get through it, I know all of you can too. I couldn't have done it without this sub, and I certainly didn't do it gracefully, but I made it. Thank you all for your support and words of encouragement. I don't think anybody can do this alone, and this sub is sometimes the only thing that reminds you you're not alone, so keep on doing what you do. I'll be around still, but it's time to move forward too. Reading the top comments before the next update. Congrats, and glad this worked out for you in the end. I wonder if you'd have a case for lost wages, etc. Unfortunately, the statute of limitations on defamation is long since passed in Colorado, so I can do that. Police still fall under qualified immunity because my case started before the law in Colorado was passed to do away with it. The prosecutor and forensics people that lied are covered under absolute state immunity. The laws need to change so man can sue in the future, but for now I cannot. You consulted with your lawyer on that? Sorry to hear this. My lawyer and 4 civil attorneys specializing in defamation and suits against law enforcement and the state. I trust the references my attorney gave, so I think it's a no-go. Last update 1 year later. I have posted my story here before, so all I will include in this post is that I was falsely accused of severe crimes of domestic violence by an ex-girlfriend who then admitted to lying about the whole thing. Before she copped to it, I had submitted photos proving I didn't cause the one injury she had, which was from a BDSM club she frequented in another state and not me. None of the exculpatory evidence mattered and the prosecution refused to dismiss the case. Only the prosecution can dismiss domestic violence cases in the state of Colorado. I did get a deferred sentence with an offered plea. You accept a sentence but maintain innocence. The existence of offered alone in the US shows how disgusting our courts are by itself in my opinion, and the exculpatory evidence did result in a far earlier than expected termination of sentence and follow-through of dismissing and sealing the case, standard deferred action in Colorado following successful completion. Fast forward a couple years and I finished school for respiratory therapy. The last hurdle was licensing. For those that don't know, in healthcare licensing they typically do level 2 checks and they dig into you a little bit. Nowhere close to security clearances or law enforcement or the military, but they do dig a little. I had a legal team lined up to fight that battle. It was expected to be one for sure and I had retained a primary licensing attorney in my new state and a consulting defense attorney from my old state, for drafting explanations, consulting on what I do and don't have to say based on Colorado's law, and we were prepared to be aggressive. But, a couple days after the battle began, they gave up suddenly. They stopped arguing against me and I was licensed. I assume this was because of the evidence we provided in private back-channel communication between my attorney and some of the licensing people. Regardless, my bar for a normal life was being licensed in my field, which means I can be licensed much more easily as I advance through the levels of healthcare professions that I intend to, and to have no more major consequences for my case. As of 3 days ago I reached that exact point. I was open about my case with the world and random strangers. Obviously this was not recommended to me by my legal counsel, but I did it anyway because the only way this will change is if falsely accused people turn the tide one person, one day, at a time. Nobody that has seen the case records, that I show liberally, believes me guilty. I had over 24 people write letters for me to be licensed and everyone at the hospital I work at, my new hospital, my school, everyone, wanted to help me. I think that shows the tide is turning. If I can waltz around showing anyone that will listen the truth of my case and I can have them want to help me, I think that shows things are changing. If you find yourself in my position, please do whatever you can to at least see it to the end. I can understand whatever choice you make if falsely convicted, but please at least see it done. There's no guarantee that you will have a good outcome, but I firmly believe I wouldn't and I did, and I have a life that's actually better than the life I had before being falsely accused. I won't be able to climb as high as I originally intended in my career, but I can get pretty close, and even as a respiratory therapist, I have a career and a life, and nothing from my case is hanging over my head anymore. The last 4 years have shown me that good can come from even the worst of times. I am married to the girl who stayed with me through my case, despite us only being together 3 months when it started. I have a job I enjoy and I get to help people breathe and sustain life in the intensive care unit. I have a plan for the future, and for the first time since I was very young, life is more positive than negative. If I can do it, you can too. Please don't give up. This dovetails with the problems I often see in the cases of more famous people who have been falsely accused. They settle with the accuser, because they are, somewhat rightly, advised by their lawyers and public relations experts that paying them off is the quickest and cheapest way to move on with their careers. The issue though is that this is only a short-term victory, because it incentivizes others to make more false accusations. So in a sense these people who settle are just hoping these liars just go away and find a different target, which is a pretty crappy thing to do when you stop to think about it. And they aren't even guaranteed that they won't be targeted again, and again, and again, as more people see them as a potential big payday for very little effort. Still, I can understand how exhausting it can be and wanting to just move on. I've been through the hell of a false accusation myself, and proving it was a complete fabrication and getting the official documentation in support of that was hard to do. But without people like you and I who are willing to fight back publicly, nothing is going to change in the long term around social norms that promote this kind of injustice against men. Congratulations on your career, marriage, and the great outlook on life you have at the moment. You deserve all the best in the future after having fought through such an awful attack on your entire life and reputation. 100% agree on your dovetail statement. Overall, I believe that an individual with the resources to fight aggressively in cases like this should do so. I would go so far as to say they are morally obligated to do so. I truly wish that I had the resources to go to trial, and I wish I currently had the resources to pursue any and all legal action possible. Sadly, my case came at a bad time for me. I hadn't finished my degree yet and I was bringing home the typical income of a pre-med student working part-time at most to maximize their grades. I could not hardly provide any resources towards the fight and had to rely on the goodwill of my family as well as their outrage surrounding just how heinous the people of the criminal justice system were behaving throughout the whole thing. Without them, I would certainly be in prison or dead. My family on one side is lower middle class and, on the other side, are definitely considered in the poor bracket. It took everyone coming together to make it happen. My grandfather gave up about half of his retirement savings to help. I am both humbled and ashamed because of this. They wanted to go all the way, but my case was already so ludicrously expensive and trial was going to add 100 to 150% more to the already insanely high cost, and I just couldn't ask them to give more than they already had. Rest assured though I am positive and optimistic about my future, my rage about my case, these laws themselves, and pretty much everything this sub was built to speak out against, that rage still burns white hot, and I intend to do whatever I can to aid in getting these things changed. If things work out to plan going forwards, and I believe it will, I will have the resources to fight this kind of thing to the max in the future. If something like this ever happens to my child, or my wife, or any of my family or friends following the point at which I have such resources, God help and have mercy on their false accuser and anyone else on the side of the false accuser, because I will bend over backwards to destroy them by whatever legal means I have available. Unfortunately, while I can see signs the tide is turning, I think it is going to take much more than lawsuits and protests to change this criminal nonsense. I firmly believe we will win that battle, be it in the courtroom, the floors of Congress, or anywhere else that battle may occur. Thank you for your kind words. This is the best my life has been in my few decades on this earth. I have not had peace my entire life. My stepmother through my childhood was an abusive, malignant narcissist, drug addict that of course got away with everything she did. My father lost in court against her despite her history and the things she's done. It has been difficult for so long, and that difficulty has been due to the same sorts of reasons this sub exists for. But now, things are at least better and nothing is hanging over my head. That does not change how I feel about the current state of men's rights nor my opinions on the way the modern world handles cases like this, but I'm at least happy and angry instead of depressed, lost, and angry lol.